All right, welcome to another Crossroads podcast, number 53, with Cam and Brendan from Altamadum. What's up, guys?
Awesome.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a good day. How is it out there?
So
It's good.
It's not bad. Yeah, we're getting some warm weather finally. We're in Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada. So it was
Thunder Bay. I was like, dude, that sounds so cool.
It's a very metal name, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
It lives up to its name. We get lots of thunder in the summer. So
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm close to Canada here in Montana, but
Nice.
you're way over on the east side.
Yep,
So I'm over on the west.
Yeah, we're kind of in the middle. We're not like we're not by Toronto. We're like 16 hours in, like west from Toronto.
Nice.
yeah, right in the northwest section of Ontario.
Cool. Have you
Yeah.
guys been to America at all?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been to New York. I've been to New Jersey. Yeah, a few different places like that. Minneapolis. We're kind of close to Minneapolis, actually, like Duluth. We're right above that. That's the best way to describe it, probably.
Yeah, when I hit my GPS, I was like, okay. Yeah, Minnesota. You said Minnesota, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, hopefully I can get out there one day. I've never been to Canada, but I'd like to check it out for sure.
It's gorgeous. It's very scenic. A lot of, especially in Ontario, there's a lot of like hills and trees, and we're pretty isolated in terms of where we're located, which I guess helps us, with the music side of things, because not a lot else to do. So,
Like if
Right.
if you're an outdoorsy kind of person, Canada is the place you want to be in the summertime, especially. The views you can see around this area are gorgeous.
It
All the
probably gets
lakes,
pretty
all the
cold out
forest.
there.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it does.
Yeah, like we can hit minus 40, 45 here in the wintertime.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it gets cold out here. The weather was like, it's been bipolar. It's like hot, cold, rain, snow. But
That good old springtime mixture, right?
yeah, sometimes it just skips seasons and it goes like straight from like summer into winter. But well, it looks like you guys are chilling in a studio.
we
Yeah,
are.
we're
Yeah.
sitting right in our studio.
Yeah, every Saturday night is studio night. So we right now just kind of working on the latest album to be released this year, In My Blood. We're
Nice.
kind of we're close. We're very close right now. We're just in the process of just kind of touching up a few things. It's a 10-track album, so we're, like I said, we're very close. We've mixed a lot of the songs. We're just kind of adding a little few touch-ups to it, because we've, as we mentioned earlier, we've released a few singles so far. So In My
I
Blood.
was checking out In My Blood.
Yeah. It was that one dropped yesterday. So and then we released Run From You, which was the first single of this album that's coming out. I think we released that at the beginning of March.
Yep.
So we're trying to stagger the release a little bit, where we drop a single, then drop another single, a month and a half, couple months after that. And then our plan is to have one more single coming after In My Blood, and then followed by the release date of the album. So we're tentatively shooting for end of summer, beginning of fall for the release date of the full album. But In My Blood's the title track off the new album. So
Nice.
we're kind of in love with that song, yeah, because it has that kind of, I don't know, hooky element in terms of like the vocals, and it's kind of the right length for radio airplay and everything else like that. So we
It's a very driving piece of music. It'll definitely get some headbanging for
Nice.
sure.
Gotta love
Yeah.
headbanging. I noticed it, like you guys aren't just always heavy, like you have like more melodic, like composed music too. Oh, did it freeze up? It might have froze for a sec. Yeah, I was just saying the compositions of your music is more melodic. Do you guys mainly do it like guitar and drums, since you have a bass player and singer as well?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're 4-piece in terms of the musicians in the band, and then we have our producer as well, and our web designer. We have our own studio in Thunder Bay called Thunder Sound Studio, which we're very, very fortunate to have. So that allows us to be able to really kind of go through the creative process in depth, and create kind of some exciting melodies, some exciting song structures, because we do a lot of our writing in the studio, which we're fortunate to do. So we don't have to necessarily get it all right before we come to the studio. We can kind of mess around with different ideas in the studio. So sonically and melodically, I think what we do is we just kind of, you know, Brendan and I, we're very inspired by each other in terms of our playing. And you know, one of us comes up with an idea typically, and then we just build off of that idea. And then our goal is to try to create something that we've never heard before, but kind of, you know, we incorporate all of our influences that are very diverse amongst the four of us and the six of us in total. Where we're able to kind of create our own kind of unique signature sound through that process. So especially with the last song, like the whole album is kind of very up tempo, dancey. We want to mix a lot of electronic elements in there with rock elements that has our style, you know. Yeah. So it's a lot of like pull off guitar riffs and you know, and just super, you know, complex, you know, fast paced drumming and then like once again mixed with that kind of electronic element as well, right? So
yeah, definitely some cool guitar riffs and the drumming. You got a lot of pieces to your kit. Yeah, so you guys must do all your mixing and mastering too.
Yeah, we do that here with our, like I said, our engineer Russ Elder. He's the one who takes that on, and he's able to. We're able to do that all here, and we're able to be a part of the process, right? Like he's the one who does that, but we're able to kind of, you know, listen to that, which is exciting when we have our music and we're able to actually record it in the studio, but able to see it come to fruition as well, right? So
yeah, so you must independently release it as well.
Sorry, you froze up again there, Jake.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you guys
you're working again. Sorry, man. I don't know what's going on here. This isn't. Yeah.
You know,
we're
I
good
mean, it
now.
happens. At least we're able to connect, you know, virtually. It's super rad to do that, but you guys just release it independently onto all the streaming platforms. All right, cool. Technical difficulties made the swap, and you're back at your pad now, huh?
That's right. Yeah, we're all set to go, Jake. So
yeah,
the house that the band started in.
Oh, is it?
Way back, what, 2007? I want to say.
7.
Oh, so yeah,
Maybe,
it's been
no,
like almost
At
a
least-
decade, getting close, huh?
Yeah. No, Brendan and I, we've been together since like grade 9. So we've been together for at least 15 years. And the band just started out with us, actually. It was he and I and drums and guitar. And that was the thing, right? So you'd take the school bus home and we'd come back here and his drums would be set up in the basement and we would figure out what was going to be our sound, right? So we did a lot of covers in the early days. We did like a lot of
instrumentals too.
Instrumentals.
We had 3 of our own instrumentals there for a long time.
Yeah, we covered a lot of Judas Priest and
nice.
You know, I think one of the first cover songs we did was like Breaking the Law, right? And it just it worked well with one guitar and drums. So it was you know, where I think both of us are very heavily influenced by that like British invasion, you know, thing, right? Especially that transpired in the 80s with the whole metal movement and stuff. So
it's one of my favorites. I definitely grew up on that and it was an inspiration for me. I seen you guys did the Motley Crue.
Oh yeah, yes, we did. Yeah, that was a fun night for sure.
Dude, that was awesome. You guys looked like them too, all dressed up.
Very, very good. Yeah, that was a funny thing because we have this show in Thunder Bay called like the Cover Show. So a lot of bands, and not even just bands, but artists from different bands kind of get together and create this cover band, right? And do different artists. So we were approached a few times by one of the local promoters to do a cover band, and our bass player James Cole, you know, was like, "Oh, we should dress up as Motley Crue, right?" And we just started to laugh about it, and we're like, but then we started entertaining it, right? Like, okay, well, where would we get our outfits? Where like who would do our makeup? Like all of these things, right? And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're like, okay, screw it. We're so far down this rabbit hole, we might as well just do it, right? So
that was awesome.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, we did like at least 2 nights, maybe 3 nights of it, because it just kind of snowballed.
Wow.
People seem to like it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely just checking out some more of your guys' stuff when you guys were going to the new location, and you have quite an array. I'm looking forward to the new project. It looks like you have quite a bit of material you've already released too.
Yes.
Definitely, yeah. One of the things too, like to our earlier conversation, is having a studio. Like that was such a big thing, Jake. Like through like COVID, especially, right? Like we were able, just in COVID, we were able to release two. Like this will be the second album. Born in the Afterglow was the one that was released prior to this. But just being able to share ideas through like my singer would, the Sam Muka, he would send us different ideas from his house, right? Like he'd record some piano ideas, vocal ideas, send them over to us, and we would brainstorm just different things when we were in lockdown, because we went into lockdown so many times in Ontario, especially northwestern Ontario. So it really helped, right? So we didn't waste any time. We got back into the studio and we had like an album's worth of material both times. So we just went to it, right? And then we'd release something, go back into lockdown and do like a press run where we would have a lot of interviews and just kind of try to push the album. And but we've been with this in the studio for the last, I want to say like 11 years. We've been with Russ and Thunder Sound Studios. So
Nice.
the first album we recorded with Russ was We Are, and that came out in 2013. So we've been pretty consistent in releasing material since then. And we're one of those bands that we don't rest very often. Like we'll kind of hide away from playing shows and lock ourselves in the studio, record this album. Yeah. And then we have no distractions, record the album, release the album. And then what we'll do is we'll end up going and doing a big, like, pre-COVID, especially a big stretch of shows. And then we'll already be ready to write the next album. So we kind of have an influx of just different ideas that we can capture. Like it's really cool being able to do that in the studio, because if we have an idea, we don't lose it. We just capture it and we're able to build off of that. So I think that also kind of helps us in being so prolific, I guess, in terms of writing and releasing, just doing that in the studio.
So who writes your guys' lyrics? Do you guys write them or just the singer?
Our lead vocalist, Sam Muka, he takes care of the lyrics, and sometimes our bass player likes to jump in and put in his 2 cents on some songs as well. They
Nice.
take care of it for the most part.
Yeah, we're more the music side. Like we kind of arrange the music, like compose the music, so we layer it and everything like that. Like Brendan and I, we can get away with writing like a whole album's worth of like music in like a short time, right? So and it's like, once again, and then my bass player, he'll leave the bass there so we can kind of like create a whole entire song and then go at it from that angle too. But yeah, it's nice having them kind of focus more on, like Sam and James focus more on the lyrical content, and then we focus more on building the songs, like composing the song structure. And it seems to work really well. We don't have like one formula. I was just thinking about this the other day because someone asked us this question. Like, we don't have one formula for writing. I don't think. Like, we always kind of approach it from different angles, but this one in particular and the last album, Born in the Afterglow, were very similar in terms of ideas coming to us building on those ideas, and then trying to make sure that there's that cohesion from start to finish, because it's very important for us that we write good albums versus just good songs. Like we want to take that listener on a journey from start to finish. So we're hoping to do that with this album too. So
yeah, and so I did see that you have a bunch of interviews you've done, like magazines and probably some other just through the internet or in-person interviews. And then you go on these runs. You guys have done some touring then? I've seen some pictures. You had like a slideshow.
Yeah, we did a tour of Ontario, 2014, I think that was, and then it was interesting because things started to shift when we got back from tour. We got our record label from the Depths Entertainment in Reading, Pennsylvania, actually, an American outfit, yeah, which was huge for us because we thought it was like scam, like junk mail.
Yeah, so for sure, there is a lot of that out there.
Yeah. So, but they were very, very specific, and they, from the Depths Entertainment, that's the label that we're a part of, and they've been just awesome in terms of just kind of like helping us, get out there, especially in England and Scotland. Like that was the big push. Nice. So, yeah, which was really, really cool. And then we found when we got back from tour that like touring is fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but
Mhm.
Having said that, though, it was really cool because we're able to now, like, for example, talk to you, right? Like and
Mhm.
connect with different people from all over the world and not necessarily even have to go anywhere, right? And get our music out there just through like the virtual means, right? So
Yeah, for sure. So you guys want to do more traveling then with your music and
yeah, I
go
think
to
so.
At
Europe
some
one
point,
day?
at
Yeah.
some point when it makes sense, right?
Right, yeah. As long as it's all like, works out financially and the audience is big enough for you guys, because I've definitely done some traveling and it wasn't always a packed show, but
Right.
Yeah, it was interesting. The Ontario tour was good because I think we tried to jump ahead of that curve and kind of get people involved with some of the music videos and stuff that we were doing at the time. So I
mhm,
think that helped. But to your point though, too, Jake, like the thing is that even just getting airplay on the radio in Europe or whatever, it's like it we're getting our music heard. So it's serving that purpose, right? We're garnishing new followers and listeners from all over the world, but we're not physically there, right? So it's like
yeah,
it's a cool environment. Like it would be awesome to go, like I've been to Europe a bunch of times and stuff, and it would be cool to go there with the band and go on a tour when it makes sense to do so. But right now it's pretty cool because we're able to have like conversations like this with people over there and share the music and get their feedback too. Like we're always a big fan of like receiving that feedback from everybody, like pro or con, whether they like the songs or not. Like it's
I
it's just
dig
really
them.
cool. Thank you, man.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, the riffs are rad, and it does have that blend of like hard rock and like emotion and melodic sounds. I think like your singer's voice really adds to that, and the piano.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure it
Yeah.
does. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's got one of those voices, Jake, that's like super interesting because people either love it or they hate it. And
Right.
yeah, so when he sees this, he's gonna get a kick out of that probably. But
Well, I'd say I love it. I
yeah, that's
definitely do
awesome.
not hate it.
That's awesome, bro.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you guys actually hit me up.
cool.
How
I'm
did you
glad.
even come across Crossroads podcast?
Just through different artists. I think we're following like similar artists, like from our label or other either podcasts that we've been in contact with or featured on. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how it came across our plate, right? And I was like looking at some of your stuff, and I was like, oh, I love what you're doing, right? And I love the kind of the layout and different guests that you have on the show. So I just thought, it'd be cool just to connect, right? And that's kind of
Yeah.
how we've been doing it in general, right? A lot of people have been either reaching out to us or being like associated with a record label that represents artists from around the world. It allows
Mhm.
us to link up with all these different like magazines or radio shows from all over the globe. And it's almost like we know these people already, even though we've never really connected because we have those common threads already, right? So but that was how it happened. Yeah.
Nice. So, how long you been working with the label?
We've been with From the Depths for
I think since 2014
yeah, that might be
Oh.
right.
when the second album came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. So it's been a while.
Yeah. We've been with them for, I don't know.
You know what? I want to say, yeah,
12 years.
2014.
No,
Yeah,
whatever.
no, 2014 or 2015, I think.
2014, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was our second album. It was Levels that was released in 2014 that got the attention of the label.
Mhm.
And so Brendan's right. Yeah, so it was that was kind of like the big thing that was kind of that was when our sound really shifted. It was
Mm.
drastically different then than what it is now. It was very, very similar to that kind of like Maiden or Priest, like guitar harmony.
Nice.
We still have a lot of that in the music now. Obviously, that's a big thing for us. But it was very, very heavily immersed in that, right? Like and that we didn't even release that on any streaming platforms. Like this is before we got involved in all of that stuff. So it was
Mhm.
just all hard copies of albums that we were distributing, right? And then
Oh, yeah.
we were releasing it through our website and stuff. And I think that's how it got to the label. And then we've been able to collaborate and just like I said, be represented by a lot of different media outlets, magazines, and radio stations in places that we've never even traveled to yet. So it was it's been really fun. It's been really fun, and we love having that conversation, right?
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have been committed to your music for a long time. Was it always Altamadum?
I
You
think
take that
I
off.
think it was even long before Ultimatum came around. We wanted to call ourselves Annex. That was just, and we did stick with that name for a bit, but then as the other members had come into the band, Addicts just wasn't, like it wasn't suiting the sound that was evolving for the band. And then our bass player came and asked us, he's like, hey, what do you guys think about Altamadum? And he decided to put the slang term on it with Altamadum instead of ULTI, right? So he brought that to our attention and we're like, yeah, we love that. And we just ran with it. And that's just been our name ever since.
It's unique, which would make it easier to find on the internet and algorithms. And well, I see your music is out there, like you said, on the streaming platforms, and you have your own website, which is a big help.
Totally. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, even having our own web designer, like to the earlier question though, the name thing was hard because I remember it slightly different. I don't remember how we came up with the name, to be honest, but I remember being in high school, Brendan and I remember being in class and we had like a list of names, right? Like some just ridiculous names, like that just would have never worked if, we were going to be serious about our music.
Oh, right.
And,
Yeah.
And just ridiculous. Like I wish we could find that list somewhere, right? Because it'd be fun to look at again. But
I'm sure it's not somewhere. We
Yeah.
can't get rid of anything from our past.
Yeah.
For the most part. So it's got to be somewhere.
But
Oh, nice.
Ultimatum was something because Brendan, I think it was, I have a
Are you
different,
sure it was me?
I think
could've
it was
sworn
you.
James.
Yeah, no, I think you came up with the name and I think I said like, well, that has to be taken, right? It's such a, like, that's like a metal, like a quintessential metal. And I didn't really want to necessarily just be a metal band. I wanted to be like, I wanted to be anything and everything that we love, right? So we're not like pigeonholing ourselves. I love metal too, don't get me wrong, but it was I said, okay, that's never going to work that way. Like there's got to be a band. So I think I remember like us like just erasing letters and swapping them out for different letters. So it would still sound Ultimatum. But to your point, like if you Google Ultimatum the way we spell it, you're only going to get stuff from us, from the band, right?
Yeah.
So it does help. It does help. But the hardest thing is there's two things, I think. The hardest thing is coming up with a name. And the other hardest thing is coming up with the sound, right? But more in terms of the singer, I think that's the biggest thing, is that because you can have a group of amazing musicians, but if you have a singer that doesn't represent that well, I think it wrecks everything, right? It's almost like people aren't even focusing on the music anymore. They're focusing on that horrible voice or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That fits the bill. People aren't going to find you. They're not even going to want to listen to you. So Cam's right in that regard. You got to have a voice that fits the music. I agree with that 100%.
Did it take you guys like time to find other band members to play with, or did it come together pretty quickly?
Well, Brendan and I, we had a freakish chemistry right out of the get. Like,
that's awesome. That's
we can almost like be in the same room as each other, and like like it was weird. Like we didn't have to say anything. We weren't even covering a song. We could just freestyle jam for half an hour and it would just link up. It was weird. And then our bass player came. It was funny
how that came along.
Yeah, we were looking for a bass player and we didn't know anyone who owned a bass, right? So we found this one. I thought he was really cool. I still do, obviously. But when we were in high school, there was this one really kind of quiet, like, kid that was just like kind of like, but he had this air about him, right? Like he was very confident and everything else like that. And it was funny. And then I found out I had a weird kind of vibe with him too, because we didn't really speak up until this point, but I just knew for some reason he and I would connect in some way. And I found out that he owned a bass, and that was enough for us, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like, all right, man. Like, and it was
Join the band.
Yeah, it was in this house, and we were like,
Nice.
come on this date at this time, and he came in with his bass amp and he threw it down, right? And Brendan and I are just going for it, right? Like we're just shredding and playing because we have that chemistry already. And he just comes in and he just starts slapping the bass and he's playing all the wrong notes.
It was a mucky muck sort of jam, but it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
Yeah,
that.
it was a learning curve, because then we've never played with a bass player either, right? So and then James jumped, but he got good quick. Like we were able to grow together, which was really cool. And then we knew we needed a singer. So we did have another person in the band prior to that who kind of covered the singing and guitar responsibility, but then replaced by Sam because we liked I like Sam's ambition and his willingness to get up there even before the voice, because his voice has changed a lot in the years. Where he would just scream primarily at the beginning, like he was just discovering how to sing with a band. Because before that, he was doing a lot of acoustic, just singing, songwriting kind of things. So to be heard just with the equipment that we had at the time. He had to kind of scream, and our music was more aggressive, where that transitioned over time, where he got more comfortable with his voice and singing for the band, and the studio helped with all of that stuff. So and then that other gentleman, we had to part ways, and then we became a 4-piece from like 2014 on, where we were just very immersed in writing. And then Russ Elder and Richard Lawrence, who's our web designer and our producer, they're like the 5th and 6th member of the band, where we're like a little family, right? But we all have different responsibilities, and there's just the 4 musicians. So it was interesting because we bonded, right? Like we were able to do this when we start out with this when we were very, very young, and we've all gone through a lot of experiences through life together, and we've kind of been there to support one another, and also been there to grow musically together, which has been like a really exciting thing to see, right?
For sure. It's hard to make bands last, and for everybody to be committed to the band and ultimately have like the same kind of a vision. And it sounds like you guys have been doing it too. So I mean, do you have any like major goals with the band? It sounds like you've been playing a lot of shows, recording a lot of music.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I was thinking about this too the other day, and I think we've done a lot of what we wanted to do. Like our main goal was to share music with the world. That was the biggest thing, right? I remember sitting with Brendan and the others, and us all having food or drinks or whatever somewhere, and we were, our goal was to be like, if we knew that we would even just be having a conversation with you right now, right? Like that would have just blown our minds at the time, because it was just so far removed, right? We were convinced that in order for us to be successful as a band at the time, the live circuit in Thunder Bay, that was the big thing, because that's all we had, right? So we had a bunch of different venues to play in the city, and even though we're a smaller city at that time when we were coming up, there was a lot of different venues and a lot of last band standing competitions and everything like that. So we really cut our chops as a live band first and foremost. Even before we recorded, like recording was a whole different beast. Like learning how to actually be a disciplined artist and record to a metronome was a nightmare, right?
Yeah, that was probably the hardest hurdle even as a drummer, because like the discipline wasn't there to practice to it. Then we hit the studio, all of a sudden it's like, hey, try this, and it's like, wow, this is more difficult than it looks, like. So to revert back to what Cam was saying about discipline, that was where we really got our footing in that particular area.
Yeah. And then exactly, and then it was and from there, so like to your question, Jake, like it was like to have our song in Scotland on the radio would have just freaked us out, I think, right out of it. Like and we did that, there was a lot of different milestones like that, where it was little touch points that happened that reiterated that our goal was being accomplished. We were able to share our music all over the world, right? Because we were seeing it in magazines or hearing it back to us in radio stations. So going forward, I think it's just to continue to, like, our goals, I think, are just to challenge ourselves musically still. Use a lot of different styles, because this new album, In My Blood, is very different than anything we've done before. Like, it's very, very different, but it has that one common thread where it's got our signature style throughout. So that was a a big thing to retain that, but also experiment with so many different sounds and styles. So it's just to continue to broaden, I think, our listener base, and to continue to have conversations like you and I, like the three of us are having, and be able to really kind of challenge ourselves as artists, and we, like I said, we love having conversations with people, and like what they think about the music or music in general. Like, we're just such big music fans first and foremost before we're artists. So I get such a kick out of hearing someone in England like message us and say, oh, I love this song or whatever, and tell us what it makes them feel, or what it makes what it reminds them of. It's such a massive rush. It's like there's nothing else like it, right? It's like playing live. It's like playing a live show, or it's crazy.
For sure. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's rewarding for sure, and it's
Absolutely
just the connection you can make with people. Hopefully, with this podcast and like all your other interviews that you've done, hopefully it expands the audience, creates some more fans for you guys. And because I definitely try to connect with more rock bands. I'll talk with, pretty much anybody that's willing to talk, but to help promote their art and their music is really what it's all about. And because I love to see what people create, and to help it grow, especially now with Spotify and YouTube, where you can just get more subscribers and listeners and then earn some royalties. You guys have merchandise? You sell like t-shirts or anything?
We do. We kind of did more in the past. Like I said, pre-COVID, when we were playing shows, we had posters, albums, shirts, all of that stuff. And then we kind of like transitioned more towards the music side of things, like really pushing the music and just doing it like digitally to reach that larger audience that you're talking about. But when we do decide to release a new chain of merch, we're going to probably put it through altamadum.com. Just like you mentioned, that's our website, right? So we're in the process of rebuilding the website. Our web designer is building a brand new website, so it's going to be updated because it's a little bit dated. Like it doesn't have some of the more current content on there. So that should be once again released later this year. Probably sooner than later. That'll probably drop before the album does, but that will be the best way. Either that or Instagram is usually the best way to kind of stay on top of what we're doing. But when we do release more merch, because we inevitably will, I'm sure, we're gonna put it on the website for people to purchase. So
nice. Yeah, and I guess through the website people can find all the other stuff like Facebook, and it'll like lead them to the others. So I'll put your links in the description and everything to help people connect with you.
Amazing. Yeah,
I'll definitely have to stay tuned with you guys now.
Absolutely,
Awesome.
man. Yeah, absolutely.
And us to you too. We'll stay tuned to your podcast as well.
Cool. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's slowly growing. I haven't been doing it that long. It's not even been a year, but it's growing. So
Slowly but surely, right?
Slowly but surely. And it's just like music, you know. I mean, sometimes you get going, like when you guys first started going and playing shows, was it a slow thing or was it like just happening fast? Because you said you were like a live band primarily.
Yeah, it was interesting because our first show was a fundraising show and there was like a couple hundred people there, maybe 300 people, and that was at our high school. And it was for a fundraiser actually for nets. I think malaria in Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, I think that was the goal behind that, was to raise as much money as possible for that cause. And that was something that I got a great deal of pleasure out of. Like when we've done a few fundraising shows since then, and I always love doing that because it just there's so much value and purpose in that. But and then our second show, we were like maybe 16, 17, so we couldn't legally get into the bars or anything.
Right. Yeah.
And and the promoters would let us in, right? We carved our teeth as kids in the live circuit here in the city. And that was the biggest thing, right? So it was doing that, and it was it really allowed us to hone our sound, but the audiences were hit and miss at the beginning, right? Like we would have an influx of people one night. Maybe it wasn't even to see us. Maybe it was to see another band, or because there was a drink special or something. Like I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was all the different promotional tricks that these promoters were using at the time. But very, very quickly, fortunately for us, we became a favorite with the promoters in the city and the different venues. So there was one it's not even a venue anymore. It was called Kilroy's in Thunder Bay, and it was it could hold a lot of people. And the first night we played, and it was primarily like a metalcore venue, right? And we weren't that, but we were more aggressive at the time, and we felt like we had something to prove. So when we actually got the chance to play there, and it was like packed, and there was people writing about the show there was all these different reviews about the show the next day, and they were mostly complimentary, which is nice. We started to become house bands at some of these locations. So then promoters would post posters all over the city of us and the other artists that were playing, and it would happen consistently enough that even before the social media thing, we were starting to gain a pretty decent sized following in the city. And then the shows became a lot more widely, like any venue that we would play, regardless of the size in the city, would be typically packed, right? Because we would be really doing our best to push it and promote it. And then when we got, I think our first thing was like MySpace or something. Isn't that like,
oh yeah, for sure,
every band's first thing, right? And it was and so we cut an EP before we moved into the Thunder Sound studio. That was like a 3-track EP that we just pushed, right? We pushed. So when we started getting involved with social media, it really allowed us to be able to get more and more people to the show. And then with the website, our producer was a big pusher of getting this other guy to come in, Richard, to do the website, which was, we didn't see that as important at the time. And then how important it is now, right? Because it's almost like a business card, like Altamadum.com. We can just give that out, and it houses songs, it houses interviews, articles, all of these things. But then Instagram too is a big thing for us. Like we're very talkative and connective on Instagram. So that's another really great way for people to contact us, is just DM us, and with whatever, like we're just happy to talk, right? But that's another, those are the two best avenues to get a hold of us, is probably through our website or Instagram. But yeah, the live thing was interesting. And then we probably hit our peak in our like late teens with the live stuff, because then we started to shift our focus, where we got this record label representation. We started getting attention outside of the city, which was like super addicting for us as like artists that were coming up. And so we really wanted to maximize that. So we almost did the opposite, Jake. When we got that, we almost neglected the city a little bit. We stopped playing shows, and we became so focused on all of these other ideas and options that were kind of international, right? And then we would have to reshift our focus once again back into, well, we're physically in Thunder Bay, we should probably play shows. Let's set up some shows in the city and balance everything else. So we're doing the shows, but we're also doing all of the the kind of international handshakes and stuff like that. So
right. Well, hopefully one of these days you're actually out there shaking hands and on a worldwide tour. That would be rad.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully one day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll let you guys go here soon and get back to the studio. I know you're cranking out an album, but I did want to ask, I guess, Brendan, I've seen you had a huge drum kit. You got a lot of pieces to that baby. Yeah. How many pieces do you think you have?
Well, I have 13 cymbals. I believe I have 10 separate drums on it as well. And then I got a double bass pedal, and yeah, I love it. I call it my musical fortress.
Yeah, that double bass, I was definitely heard that, especially on your new track that you released. Run From You.
Yeah. There's lots of double kick work in there. Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs to play for sure. It's that song doesn't get easier to perform. Every time I sit behind the kit, that song challenges me every single time. So I can definitely tell you that this album is pushing me to a new level, like all of us as artists in general, just because it's so different and it's so unique, and we're trying different things, and that's what's making this album really stand on its own 2 feet. And yeah, it just stands on its own merit. I love it.
It was so funny. Great. It was so funny too, Jake. Like, so Brendan's drum set when we were on tour, whenever we play a show, like it just dominates the stage. So it's like, yeah, so we're not even playing, and everyone's just like in awe of this like lit up drum set that like Brendan said, it's like a fortress, right? Like a walk-in drum set almost. And people are asking him all these questions about his drum set. So it's funny you brought that up, because it's such a big part of our live show, honestly. Like, because it's just like it's so visual and vocal, or in terms of just looking at it, and obviously the sound and how Brendan plays. Like, it's insane to watch him play. Even after 15 years, I'm still in awe, right? Like, I get like Run From You, for example, we wrote that song or whatever, and we had all these different layered ideas, and then Brendan played what he played on top of that, and I was just laughing, because I just thought it was the coolest thing, right? It just sounds so different. So
it's weird, like when I hear certain sounds, beats start popping into my head. Now I just got to transfer those thoughts to all 4 of my limbs, and that's how I create my parts in the song.
Nice.
Like, that's all it is. It's just literally feeling the music, and then going home, because I got an electronic set at home as well.
Oh,
so it's
nice.
Like, take those thoughts home, and I'll refine them for whatever the week along, until the following Saturday, and then bring those ideas back. And then we as a whole group, like, we all do that. And then we can it's like, oh, maybe I'll try this, or, oh, maybe I'll take this away. And we really refine it down to what we're truly looking for, so it fits the bill. So it's not too much, but it's still a lot, and it adds flavor to the song. That's how we approach our stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I was wondering, I seen that like little rack of 3 like little toms or something. What are those?
Those are rototoms. Have you heard of
Rototoms.
rototoms?
I've never heard of them or like played them or nothing. What are
Oh.
they?
They are literally drums you can rotate for pitch difference.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like the like rotation toms. That's what it actually means.
huh.
So if you wanted this, say you had a 12-inch drum here and you wanted a higher pitch, you would just turn it slightly to the right and it would just stretch the skin high enough to give you the pitch that you're looking for.
I'm gonna have to check those out more.
They're a quick scheme to actually tuning rack toms and floor toms.
Mm-hmm.
They are like, say you're on the road and it's like, oh, I don't have time to tune all this stuff up. So if you had rototoms, you'd be like, turn it this way, loosen it this way, and get all your tones there. You're set. You're ready to play your show.
So you have some like favorite drummers that were your like main inspirations?
My main inspiration is, as of right now, is Thomas Lang, and he's just an absolute beast on the drum set.
Thomas Land?
Thomas Lang, Lang.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not in a band specifically. He's a studio drummer,
Oh,
but
okay.
the things this guy can do is unbelievable. You wouldn't think that a human could perform what this guy is performing on the kit. You know, like
I'm gonna check him out.
Yeah, there's really great informative videos, and he'll tell you how he does his stuff, how he practices to get to the level of creativity where he's at. It's really great, man. You should check him out for sure.
Oh yeah, I will. Cam, I guess I want to ask you the same as a guitar player. Like if you have some favorite guitars you play with.
Yeah, I have a Gibson Les Paul.
Oh yeah.
That seems to be the staple, right? In
Oh,
rock. But I record with an LTD actually in the studio. It's on our Instagram. It's a white guitar.
like the same shape as the Les Paul.
Exactly. That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. And I bought it for the pickups because I like the way it sounded recording.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I typically I like the Les Paul for like the flashy kind of look, but I like the LTD for the sound that it provided in our live shows and also in the recordings. I bought it specifically for recordings actually.
Nice.
Yeah, and then I play out of a Marshall stack for our live shows.
Classic.
Yeah, have to with the Crybaby, obviously,
It's
right?
Oh yeah, I did hear that wah in some of your songs.
Yeah. I rely on it heavily, and that brings me into your I'm a big Slash fan, right? Who isn't? Who picks up the guitar?
Dude, yeah, he's definitely in my top 3.
Totally.
Sure.
And then in terms of players like Jimmy Page, I'm a big fan of like anything from 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right till present day. So lately I've been listening to Johnny Marr from the Smiths a lot.
The Smiths, like the old kind of I don't know, they're like indie, like kind of like a punk vibe. They're like classic.
That's right, from the 80s. Yeah, the Smiths, they're from Manchester, and Johnny Marr, in my opinion, is just an unsung guitar. Like he's really popular, but he's super unsung in terms of just the technicality and the picking he chooses and his note choices and stuff. Like it's very dark. Like it's very I'm into that kind of stuff, like the darker style of music, like kind of like the dark wave and all that other stuff, right? Like I like kind of like gloomier, doomier music.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah. I dig it all, but I'm gonna have to check more of the Smiths. I never dove deep into them.
Do it. You won't be disappointed. It's they were doing something different for the time for sure. Like they don't sound like they're an 80s band in the general sense of the word. It's cool. Yeah. Let me know what you think, Jake, when you check them out, because I don't know. Our Joy Division. Joy Division's another band I've been listening to a bunch lately. Or
ooh, nice.
Bauhaus. They're from the same era where they were very into that kind of like gothic sound before goth was even a thing, right? So yeah, a lot of darker influences lately, which I think is funny because it comes across in the album, but it's an up-tempo dance album with dark elements. That's the best way I can describe it, right?
Your next album?
Yeah.
And it's called In My Blood as well. Okay, cool. And you're shooting for spring and summer.
Well, yeah, we're probably shooting for
I guess now it's moving into summer.
It is. I would say fall, Jake. I would say fall, only because we just dropped In My Blood after Run From You, and we're going to drop a song called Upon Yourself. Might as well just say it now. We've never actually talked about it openly. That's the next single that we're going to drop, but maybe in about a month and a half, 2 months from now, we're going to drop this other single, and then we're going to release the date of the album release. So we're roughly maybe 3-4 months away from the album dropping. So like we mentioned earlier, there's just a few touch-up things. Primarily in the last track on the album, we're just touching up a few things. I'm adding a few guitar parts, and yeah, and then for the most part, the first 9 songs are mixed and mastered to some degree where we could actually release them right now. Then we'd be okay with that. So that's how close we are, and we have the artwork all picked out. And actually, it's the similar artwork that we released with In My Blood, the single, with that skull and the flowers and everything like that. That was a local artist who did that. Actually, her name's
I was
Bianca.
wondering that.
Yeah, local artist. So she did the artwork for Born in the Afterglow as well. And it's very kind of,
I was wondering that too, because I was like,
yeah,
it looked like a unique painting.
Yeah, totally. And she did it specifically for us. And her name's Bianca. She's amazing. Like, you can follow her through her Instagram. She has a bunch of different accounts. She's got like painting and makeup and all this stuff. But
I think what her name was, Bianca Artistry, would be her Instagram handle.
Probably, yeah.
She's got amazing stuff on there, man. Like, you'll be floored with what else you see that she's created. It's really mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah, and it inspired the album too, because she did the Born in the Afterglow artwork. And it reminded me, like, there's a group of 7. They're like a Canadian artist group that was really big in the day, and they did a lot of landscape stuff. And that's what that reminded me of. So that actually inspired the album, right? So where it was like, we saw that art and I started writing music, and I was very inspired by that art. So it kind of molded into the sound of the album. And then with In My Blood, it was a little bit different, where we kind of had the song ideas set in stone. We got the artwork, and then we tried to make sure that it blended well, subject wise and music wise, to the artwork, right? Because it's got that dark kind of look to it, but it's also like a logo, where we could use that as a logo on things, right? And so it's cool, and it's very unique, and it's kind of ours, right? Like, there's like she did it for us, and now we release it with our own original music. And you know, the way we spell the name, we're trying to keep it as original as possible and unique as possible, right?
Well, yeah, you guys are really thoughtful with the whole process and taking your time, not rushing it, and, you know, making sure you're happy with it. And, you know, that's the way to be. Sometimes people just rush stuff out and it's not, you know, not quite ready. I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely stay tuned. Are you guys yourself? I mean, you probably have your own individual accounts out there, or do you? Or is it just a band?
Well, we have the Altamadum Instagram, and I have my own Instagram. It's bbuyersb24 for my Instagram handle.
It's also got a drum one. Don't forget.
And I have that's right. I have a drum one, and it's Brendan Byers Drum School.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's fairly recent, so I'm just getting that off the ground too. I'm trying to start a drum education platform for people to come in. Just learn the art of drumming, learn the notation behind it, and just get playing. That's where that Instagram is really gonna help a lot of people in the future, hopefully.
Well, I'll have to connect. How about you, Cam? Do you have that?
I'm actually the main operator of the Altamadum one, so that's kind of like, yeah. So I don't have my own personal account, but I'm the one who basically runs the Altamadum account. So that's why, like, it's so like I said, I love having people reach out through that, because I can actually connect with people that way. But and then our singer has his own separate account, though. It's _Mucha, so _MUCHA, where it's his own personal account, but they're both kind of linked to the Altamadum account as well. So the best way usually to contact us actually is through Instagram.
Yeah, that's how you hit me up. And thanks for doing that. Thanks for doing the podcast as well. You guys have any other things? I think we covered like a lot of bases, and it was an awesome conversation.
Absolutely, brother. I wanted to ask you actually about sorry, Brendan. Go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Well, I wanted to ask you about your background. Your background is sick. That's another thing that really kind of jumped out at me.
In my background?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant my life. I was like, well, no. You don't want to hear my life story. No, I come from another planet. I crash landed. No. But yeah, it's just the home studio. And here where I'll play like with the band, or I'll produce a lot of stuff myself. So there's like, you know, drums, guitars, bass, all that. I'm a gear junkie. So it's like I'm a sober now. So all that money I used to spend like partying is now spent on gear.
Love it.
Which is awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's my addiction, and talking to guys like you. And I'm trying to talk with more people. So hopefully I can connect with other folks in your area. And I'm sure that you'll have like people will discover you guys now. So hopefully an increase in fans and followers, and hopefully get some more message just like, dude, you guys rock. You've inspired me. I'm going to play drums now. Thanks for teaching me. I'm going to learn those pull off licks, man. I'm going to go try to write some pull off licks. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I seen you doing it with a capo on too. I was like,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was how in my blood, actually. It was because of those great point, actually, because of those pull-offs and the key it's in, because that was an idea our singer sent us. I had to figure out, okay, well, what key is that in? Figured it out, and then realized if I was going to do pull-off riffs in that song, I couldn't just do it open, so I had to put the capo on some fret, and I had to figure out where it was, right? So it's actually on the 4th fret for people who want to play along or whatever, standard tuning, and it's yeah, it helped with the pull-off thing. So that's the only song on the album that actually has a capo, and it's weird because it's not like a soft song, right? But we do that sometimes because, like, you know, like I said, very, you know, pull-offs or just, you know, even pull-off harmonies and stuff like that I find really exciting. So I just had to figure out where it was, and that's that song specifically that we had to use a capo for. So
well, dude, you guys are great musicians. It was great to talk to you guys. I'll let you get back to the studio. I'm glad that we cleared up the technical difficulties.
Yeah, thank you, brother. You'll have to send us your music too. We want to hear it for sure. So
yeah, we're always open to listening to new stuff, man, for sure.
Yeah, it's I've been just rebranding everything with the XROADZ. And just, you know, every once in a while you gotta kind of reinvent or just be like, okay, how do we grow now? And I'm sure, like you've said, with your new albums and kind of taking that new step and growing as musicians, I'll just I wish the best of luck to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, brother. We'll be in touch, right? And yeah, this was excellent. Thank you for having us on your podcast.
Yeah, I'll be sharing it in like the next day or two. So I'll tag you guys in it and share it across the web, because it's on the other like podcast channels as well, not just the videos on YouTube, but like Apple Podcasts and Spotify podcasts. So
awesome, brother.
Awesome, man.
Very cool.
Well, yeah, have a great night, guys, and good luck in the studio tonight. Looking forward to the new album.
Sounds good, brother.
Thanks, Jake.
We'll be in touch, eh?
All right, take care.
It sounds good.
See you later.